Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to my review of tonight's edition of Monday Night Raw. And tonight, Raw was held from the Valley View Casino Center in San Diego. And my God, tonight's Raw, it was an absolutely piece of shit show. It was god-awful. God-awful. We had 4 matches tonight that we saw last week. But they changed it up by just a little bit like that, like little bit like that. But this show tonight, it was a piece of shit. It was boring. It was lazy. It's like they didn't even try. They just took the night off and just gave us Xerox of matches that we saw last week. But they changed it up to a little bit like that, like I said. But yeah, so the show opened up with they paid tribute. They had like a sign, with the tribute, little picture of Vader, because Vader passed away last week, which was really sad. Vader was one of my favorite stars in WWE from years ago. I always remember the 3 episodes that he did of Boy Meets World, where he played Ethan Suplee's character, Francis Kino's father on that show. But he will be missed, Vader. So it was nice how the way they opened up with that little graphic that little graphic tribute with the picture of Vader, with the year that he was born and the year that he passed away. So, but yeah. And then, Raw got underway, opened with Kurt Angle and Constable Baron Corbin in the ring, Baldy Corbin. And, Kurt tries to make an announcement about, Lesnar, and he gets interrupted by Roman Reigns, who comes out. And, just by Roman Reigns comes out, this Raw is going downhill. The second as Roman Reigns, is the first one to come out. So, then we have Bobby Lashley come out, says that he deserves to hear what, Kurt says, just as much as Roman does. He says to Roman that, he can't beat Brock. That Roman, can't beat Brock for those 3 years. And Lashley ends up telling Roman to move on. Roman ends up saying to Lashley about how 10 years ago, Lashley was in the main event at WrestleMania. And after that, he quit and he went to, MMA. But of course, they don't mention that, Lashley really went to TNA, went to Impact Wrestling. And Roman says, to Lashley that, he's done nothing, with coming back, to WWE. And that, he was just put in a feud with, Sami Zayn. And, he says that, Roman says that he has main evented WrestleMania 4 years in a row. And he wants it to be 5, which I hope not. I really do hope not, that Roman main events a WrestleMania, for 5, years. Don't want that to happen. So Lashley says to Roman that, he is the only one that has, legit tools to be, to beat Brock, and he's going to prove it at Extreme Rules. Kurt then announces that, there won't be a multi-man match at Extreme Rules, because Brock, pulled out of it. And Roman says, he doesn't care that, Brock doesn't care about anyone, and that Brock doesn't, give a shit. Brock only, comes here, when, there's money involved, when they want to pay him. And Lashley says to Roman that, Lesnar is tired, that Lesnar is probably tired of seeing his face, of seeing Roman's face like everyone else, the crowd. And Roman says, him and Lashley should, have a match and do it here. And Kurt says, Kurt ends up making a match saying that, both of them could have a match at Extreme Rules. And I guess it's official. It's going to be Bobby Lashley versus Roman Reigns at Extreme Rules. So the Revival end up coming out saying, it's a new week, same old, top guys getting opportunities, handed to them. They say, last week they didn't think the two biggest egos on the planet would, get along, but they were wrong. And, they won't be wrong, now, tonight. And they want a rematch. So Corbin ends up making the match official. Kurt sends out a referee. And then, Raw goes to commercial. Then after it comes back, we get the rematch that we saw last week. Revival versus Roman Reigns and Bobby Lashley. Saw it last week. The match itself, it was decent, but we saw it last week. But anyways, the Revival ended up getting the win. Dash Wilder ended up rolling up Roman Reigns to score the win. So the Revival ended up winning the match, which is cool. Then after the match, Bobby Lashley said something to Roman Reigns, but couldn't fully, hear what Lashley had to say. What Lashley said to Roman. So, but all in all, we saw this match last week. Match was, decent. And then we had Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt, cut a promo on the B team. Matt Hardy calls them out saying, them out saying, they're parody of, them, Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt, the B team parodying them last week. Matt Hardy ends up saying, it was wonderful. Bray comes and says, the B team are so fixated on their prize, and they don't realize, they are being led into the lion's den. Matt Hardy says they have no idea what the B team has gotten themselves into. And so then Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt end up, coming out. And then when Raw came back from the commercial, the B team was on the Titantron. They were cutting the promo. They were just dressed up as Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt again. Curtis Axel was Matt Hardy. Bo Dallas was his brother, Bray Wyatt. Bo says, that both Bray and Matt are going to enter a beehive, and they will not rest. And what was funny, they end up coughing. They end up coughing because of the smoke. It was funny though. It was a funny promo from the B team. I like that. It was, some of the decent stuff on Raw tonight. Everything else was, all the matches itself were meh. So, but next match, it was Curtis Axel versus Matt Hardy. This was a short match. This was a shitty match. Curtis Axel ended up winning the match. Then after the match, Bray and Matt, say, Curtis's victory was wonderful. So that was what happened after the match. The match itself, it was short. It was not the match, it was a shit match. And then we see, after that, Authors of Pain. Finally, after like almost 2 months, the Authors of Pain returned to Raw. We saw them backstage. We see Akam shove a crew member. Titus Worldwide, Titus O'Neil, Apollo Crews, and Dana Brooke were there. And Titus scolds them, scolds AOP, saying, for attacking the crew. And AOP thanks, Titus for the advice, but then they say, no thanks after, and then they walk off. And it was pretty much basically that. Sorry about that, but it was basically, just that, just that little backstage thing with AOP and Tice Worldwide. But finally, AOP back on Raw after, like I said, almost 2 months. So then we had Bayley and Alicia Fox backstage. Alicia Fox came back, returned just for like a second. Kurt Angle approaches Bayley. He says to her that she and Sasha are teaming up tonight, saying that Sasha, and Ember Moon are going to take on the Riott Squad. So, and Bayley really didn't really like that after what Sasha did to her last week, where Sasha ended up shoving Bayley. So it was basically just that little backstage thing with Kurt Angle and Bayley. Good to see Alicia Fox, return just for like that second. And then it was Authors of Pain versus Jobbers. Still, AOP come back, after not being on TV in almost 2 months, and they keep giving them local jobbers. And Authors of Pain right now, they should have competition right now. And yet, WWE is still booking them with local jobbers. But this match, it was shit. It was a shit match. Authors of Pain win the match with the last chapter. After the match, Titus O'Neil and Apollo Crews come out, and AOP run out of the ring. Want nothing to do with Titus O'Neil and Apollo. So, all in all, it was a shit match. Then we saw Kurt Angle and Baron Corbin backstage. Corbin criticizes Kurt for trying to see how many tag teams that he can implode. Finn Balor comes in to talk about the canceled multi-man match. Corbin ends up saying to Balor, Corbin says to Balor that he should be thankful because, Finn would embarrass himself in that match if it happened. What was really funny was Balor ends up making a joke about Corbin's vest, which was funny. Then Braun Strowman ends up coming in, saying he's been, rough on Kevin Owens and wants to team up with him tonight. And Kurt Angle then asks him what opponents, does he want? Does Strowman want for the match? For Strowman and Kevin Owens to take on. Strowman says he wants the other two men in the room. And so Kurt Angle ends up making the match official. So that's what, that's that little backstage segment with them. Then we had Alexa Bliss and Mickie James come out. Mickie says to Alexa that her celebration was ruined last week. And she ends up calling Ronda Rousey a maniac. Alexa says, she is a champion and bounces back. She ends up calling Ronda Rousey the most spoiled brat on the planet. Alexa says that Ronda still doesn't know the rules of WWE and that, what she did at Money in the Bank was legal. What, Alexa did at Money in the Bank was legal. And sorry about that again. But Mickie ends up saying, Alexa's cash-in will go down as one of the best Money in the Bank cash-ins. And Alexa says for as long as she known Nia, she paints herself as the victim of their friendship. And that, Alexa is the hero. She's the hero of her own story. Well, no, sorry about that. She says, Nia paints herself as the victim of their friendship, and that, she thinks that Nia is the hero of her own story by defeating, Alexa. And Alexa says, she is the real hero, and that she has overcome every obstacle that, has come her way. And then Natalya ends up coming out, says the countdown is on, 23 days until Ronda comes back to deal with Alexa. Alexa says, Natalya has left her 5-star vacation with the Total Divas cast in Tahoe. It's because they were filming an episode for the upcoming season of Total Divas. And Natalya says, she talked with Kurt Angle, and that she and Alexa has a match, which happens, when Raw comes back from the commercial. And Natalya also says that she didn't come back from Tahoe alone. And so out comes Nia Jax. So Raw goes to commercial. Then after it comes back, the match got underway. I guess it got underway when it was during the commercial. So it was Natalya versus Alexa Bliss. The match itself, it was It was your typical women's match. Natalya ended up getting the win with the sharpshooter on Alexa Bliss. Alexa ended up tapping out. Mickie James and Nia Jax was down there outside. There was, interference between. There was interference with, from Mickie James, and also from Nia Jax with, Alexa Bliss. So, but the match itself, it was a typical women's match. It was meh. Then we had Seth Rollins was being interviewed about his rematch with Dolph Ziggler tonight for the Intercontinental Championship. And Seth says last week he made an open challenge and lost to Dolph. He goes on to say that, the Seth that Dolph is going to get tonight is nothing like Dolph has ever seen. And he also says, Drew McIntyre is going to have the best seat in the house when he takes back the Intercontinental Championship. So it was a cool interview with Seth Rollins, Mr. Monday Night Rollins. Then we saw Jinder Mahal and Sunil Singh. They were taking pictures. The Riott Squad comes. They start, taking pictures of Jinder and Sunil. Well, Ruby Riott was, and then Ruby ends up smashing the camera, breaking it. So that's pretty much what happened. Then we had the Riott Squad, Ruby Riott, Liv Morgan, Sarah Logan versus Bayley, Sasha Banks, and Amber Moon. 6-woman tag team match. And this was the same match that we saw last week. But, they just threw in Amber Moon to tag with Bayley and Sasha, and they just threw in Ruby Riott. With her two ladies there. If you were to take out Amber and Ruby Riott, you would have had the same match as last week, where it was Bayley and Sasha taking on Sarah Logan and Liv Morgan. It was pretty much the same match, but you just added in Ruby Riott and Amber Moon. So, but match itself, meh match. Ruby Riott ended up rolling up Sasha for the win. The Riott Squad to win the match. And this was the best moment to happen after the match. After the match, Bayley ended up attacking Sasha. And Bayley beat the holy hell out of Sasha. It was great. The San Diego crowd was behind Bayley on this. Just the cheer and the pop that Bayley got from her being up on Sasha, it was great. They were chanting her name. It was good. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. And a lot of people said, "Oh, is this a heel turn for Bayley?" To me, I don't think this wasn't a heel turn for Bayley. I think this was just Bayley getting her revenge on Sasha from last week, where Sasha ended up shoving Bayley, and they had the whole backstage brawl last week, which led to also Sasha leaving the arena from last weekend. Bayley just wanted to get revenge on that. I don't think it's a heel turn for Bayley. So that's my opinion. But that was one of the best. That was the best thing that happened tonight, to me, in my opinion. Then we had Kevin Owens approach Kurt Angle. He says, is Kurt crazy about him, tagging with Strowman? Kevin Owens tagging with Strowman. Kurt says, he's not doing this to torture Kevin Owens, and that him tagging with Braun Strowman could be the beginning of a friendship. And pretty much that was basically a backstage segment with Kevin Owens and Kurt Angle. Then we had, it was supposed to be No Way Jose versus Mojo Rawley, another rematch from last week, but didn't end up happening. Mojo Rawley comes out saying that No Way Jose's conga line hasn't earned the right to step foot in the WWE ring, because none of those people that are on his conga line, sometimes they could be, if you remember, what was his name? Forgot his name, but he had I think it was Adam. Sorry about that again, but saying Mojo Rawley, saying the people who are on No Way Jose's conga line, will never earn the right to step foot in the WWE ring, because anytime you had that, when you had Adam Rose on there, you had Braun Strowman was in that, and Elias was, and whenever they do that, they in the future they became superstars. So that's what Mojo Rawley was saying to them. And Mojo says No Way Jose deserves to step foot in the WWE ring. And he ends up trashing a guy named Todd who was dressed in a hamburger costume. Mojo tells him that he will never make it as a WWE superstar, and he tells No Way Jose that he will not get his rematch with him. And so then Mojo cheap shots No Way Jose, and basically Mojo goes back to the back, goes to the back. So pretty much that was it. Then we had Kurt Angle saying to Bayley that next week she is going to mandatory counseling, and if she doesn't go, she's fired. And there was a WWE.com exclusive. Kurt Angle ended up saying to Sasha that she has to go to mandatory counseling, and if she doesn't go, she's fired also. So Kurt Angle wants to basically get Sasha and Bayley in counseling to work out their friendship, which we all know it's not going to go that good. So then we had Kevin Owens and Braun Strowman versus Baron Corbin and Finn Balor. Same match that we saw last week, but only they switched up Kevin Owens and Baron Corbin. Because remember last week, Kevin Owens and Corbin were tag teaming. Braun Strowman was with Finn Balor, and I'm like, it makes no sense. Why switch it up when you had Braun Strowman and Finn Balor teaming up last week, and Kevin Owens and Baron Corbin were teaming together last week? Makes no sense. Makes no damn sense. Same thing that we saw last week. Kevin Owens and Braun Strowman end up winning the match by countout because Baron Corbin and Balor were exchanging punches. They were going up the ramp. So, and then after the match, Kevin Owens wanted Strowman to shake his hand. Strowman was going to him, and Owens just ran out of the ring really fast. He ends up running to the back, and Strowman goes to chase him off. We go backstage. Kevin Owens is still, running away from Strowman. Owens hides, I guess, in his locker room where he was staying. Strowman was still looking for Kevin Owens. He's like, "Where is Kevin Owens?" So it was funny though. Then when Raw came back from the commercial, Kevin Owens comes out of a locker room. He ends up leaving the arena. He ends up going to the valet guy who's outside. Kevin Owens was saying to him, "Oh, where are, do you have my keys?" And the valet guy is like, "Oh, I don't have your key." And then Kevin Owens goes, "Where are my keys?" And so we see Strowman outside, and he has Kevin Owens' keys to his car. And he goes, Strowman goes to Owens and says, "I hope you have insurance." And then we see a car, Kevin Owens' car, flipped over. It was really funny though. That was pretty funny. I really liked that. Then we had the main event, which was Seth Rollins versus Dolph Ziggler for the Intercontinental Championship. This was a good main event. This was an enjoyable main event. It was back and forth between Seth and Dolph. The crowd was behind both of these guys. The crowd was really respecting them. This match went on for like 30 minutes because it started at like 10:40, and then it finished at like 11:05 or 11:06 around there when Raw went off the air. So it was a pretty lengthy match, but it was enjoyable. As soon as the match got underway, when the bell rang, Seth Rollins just went right after Ziggler. And of course, Drew McIntyre was out there. He did some interference there where Seth Rollins was going for the pin, and Drew McIntyre, pulled him out. So, but Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre was thrown out of ringside. The referee ended up throwing him out, and so it was just Seth and Dolph, one-on-one. Sorry about that, but I was just saying, it was Seth and Dolph one-on-one. Seth Rollins ended up getting the win by disqualification because of Drew McIntyre. After the match, Drew McIntyre ends up beating up on Seth Rollins. Roman Reigns ends up coming out, and he ends up spearing Dolph Ziggler. It was a wow spear because he just speared the hell out of Dolph. Then he gets in the ring. Roman gets in the ring, goes after McIntyre. Roman hits a Superman punch, and he knocks McIntyre out of the ring. So this was kind of a little Shield reunion with Seth and Roman. Roman come to the aid of Seth, but Dolph still retains the Intercontinental Championship. So that's how pretty much Raw ended. But it was an enjoyable main event between Seth and Dolph. The crowd was behind the both of them. It was a really good match. It was a really good main event. But it didn't save the show. Neither that match or Bayley attacking Sasha. Those two things didn't save this whole show. So, but anyways, that's it for my review of tonight's edition of Monday Night Raw. My review of it. Thank you all for watching, and be sure to give this video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all back here tomorrow night for my SmackDown review, which I hope it's a much better show, because we got one match that was announced for tomorrow's SmackDown, and that is Shinsuke Nakamura versus Jeff Hardy for the United States Championship. So that's going to be possibly a decent match. So really looking forward to SmackDown tomorrow night. So until that video, I'll see you all back here tomorrow night.